Welcome in, everybody. Today's video is going to be a little different than my couple other severe analysis videos I posted. I'm thinking about starting a weekly weather um, breakdown for the Prairie region. Maybe even further west to the BC coast and maybe further east. And who knows, maybe later we'll do the whole country. Um, just kind of breaking down, where can you expect your big weather systems and different heat waves and cool spells and rain and just overall just a more general view of what you could expect during the week. Looking at today, looking at current conditions, the big kind of thing that we can see that kind of jumps out on the satellite here are these wildfires that have been going up, mainly in northwestern Ontario here. Lots of fires have gone up here. We can see in the visible satellite imagery, and in northern Minnesota there. Multiple days of ridging across this area, subsidence and drying. We could turn on the station plots here. Um, you do have like very high dew points out here relatively, but just very high heat in this forest terrain, and very strong winds as well has contributed to these fires really pumping up here. And much of the same can be said for northern Saskatchewan here, except a lot of dry air has come down, so combined with the strong winds that are out there, the strong northwesterlies, and again the pretty high heat temperatures into the low 80s as of 6:30 recording this video. So lots of heat and dry for the northern prairies. We'll have to look more into northwest Ontario as to maybe why these fires have sparked up, if if they sparked up today, and what caused that, because there is lots of moisture out here, but again, just the excessive heat in this forest, more forested terrain, could allow for that. To take a look at the northwest Ontario fires, we can see at least until yesterday we had a couple fires burning up there. We can see in the shortwave infrared imagery, these black dots are all areas of excessive heat, and the black dots are indicative of heat from forest fires. And you can see we had some fires going up here. I believe, where would that be? We have it's hard to tell what towns are really. There's not too many towns out there. We have a couple of service obs. See if we can find the position of that lake. You're near Pickle Lake. Um, Hopefully not in too inhabited areas in northwestern Ontario. It doesn't seem like it. But yeah, lots of wildfires going up, and they really exploded today as you have this cold front that's currently positioned somewhere like this, and very strong winds out ahead of it, likely being mixed down. We can take a look at the wrap here. Here's a look at your 700 millimeter winds, highlighting the fires, something like this. And we can take a look at how our winds above the surface evolved during the daytime here. This is up at about 3 kilometers, and very strong winds here. And during mixing, during peak daytime heating, this wind mixes down to the surface, and that very strong wind you can probably see here in the obs we saw um, some station plots at about 15 to 20 knots, um, which isn't crazy wind, but your relative humidities are pretty low, with temperatures in the low 100s out there. Even though you have dew points in the mid 60s to low 70s, uh, your relative humidities are just low enough where the current fires that had sparked up, the wind was able to carry those sparks and ashes to ignite further fires. So uh, definitely not a good situation out there. Again, I don't believe it's in too populated of areas, but definitely sending smoke downstream, which will affect the air quality for a lot of people. And it could possibly, if you get northerly winds, that smoke will head into the U.S. there as well, and northwesterlies would take it to the Greater Toronto area and eastward. Uh, but yeah, overall, just very strong winds that were mixed down to the surface. We can take a look at 850 millibars, and it tells much of the same picture. These very strong winds out ahead of this cold front, and I'm sure you'll have even stronger winds during the passage of it as well into tomorrow afternoon. You can take a look here, and yeah, the wrap is showing pretty strong winds, about 20 knots there. Wind gusts, likely even more enhanced, localized gusts of probably really over 30 knots. Again, the terrain out in northwestern Ontario is very flat, so likely less friction with the surface, and the Canadian model, the high resolution HRDPS, would probably show pretty strong wind gusts out here. So unfortunately, we'll likely be seeing continued maintenance of these fires out here. We can see you advect quite low dew points out there with temperatures still in the low 80s. So relative humidities are going to be bone dry out there, which is not good. Those fires are definitely going to keep up going into tomorrow afternoon, uh, which is not a good thing. Taking a look at your North Saskatchewan fires here, you can see a cluster of fires that started up here. Here's La Ronge, here's South End, Saskatchewan. I believe this plot is Sandy Bay, Flin Flon. Generally in the northeastern portion of the province here. Much of a similar story in terms of fire conditions. Low dew points coming in with cold air advection, but those temps again continue to heat up as you as that June heat starts to work its way in. Even though we have technically cold air moving southeast, but yeah, just strong winds overall again, just overspreading the forest areas, and yeah, I don't believe that these will get too bad in the coming future, in the coming days. But they will definitely have to be watched for sure for further intensification. Taking a look at the NAM here, we have 850 millibar winds. La Ronge is located right here, South End, Flin Flon. Your fires are in this general area here. And the stronger winds do persist into the early morning hours. And that's going to be pulling continued dry air on the backside of it. So the fire maintenance will definitely exist out there. Taking a look at your upper levels, see this ridging here and subsidence on the backside of the stronger flow here, as the winds kind of encounter confluence aloft here, and this sinking just east of the crest of this ridge here. So definitely continued subsidence in uh, over the over the current fires. 850 millibars aren't insanely warm. Let's take a sounding for 3 o'clock tomorrow. See how well we mix the air, and you mix out to about 850 millibars. So you will be mixing out some of that higher momentum air down to the surface. So definitely these fires will likely keep intensifying tomorrow, given the dry air advection, stronger winds, and subsidence aloft to clear any precipitation. You can take a look here, and you likely wouldn't be expecting any with those drier air coming in. So these fires will likely persist and strengthen into tomorrow afternoon and even into the coming days here, as this northwest flow with this ridge here will likely uh, keep those northwesterly winds and that drier advection on the north side of this ridge. So unfortunately, these fires will likely intensify. Taking a look at current drought conditions, you can see here. I believe here is Reindeer Lake. La Ronge is kind of right here. So we definitely have drought up there in north central, northeastern Saskatchewan. And of course, that drought extends up into the Northwest Territories, a little bit in northern Alberta. It has quieted down in southern Alberta there. It was, I believe we were in severe drought, or maybe even bordering on extreme in southern Alberta, southwest Saskatchewan, and obviously the drought that was in southwest Manitoba is cleared up with way too much rain that they've had out there. So in the next couple of days, these fires will likely continue to intensify, unfortunately. And of course, exceptional drought across, or your extreme drought here, but likely bordering on that exceptional drought category on the BC coast, as the effects of the El Nino are hitting BC very hard here, with that positive PDO horseshoe shape really being amplified in the Pacific here. This type of heating in the Pacific here would favor that anticyclonic flow aloft and that ridging. You see, kind of get a general shape of your upper level pattern here, and this is where your subtropical jet has been down here. Currently, we have ridging in the southern, southwestern states, anticyclonic flow, and the strong jet, that southwesterly jet that's been in between that, and that pattern will likely persist into the coming days here, into the weekend. The strong ridging in the southern portion of the prairies, combined over the Midwest, will allow those evapotranspiration to really build those dew points underneath that cap that develops due to the subsidence aloft, and will this heat is going to allow a big moisture reservoir to build, even though we're not really seeing a lot of Gulf moisture. All this moisture is coming from that rain that we've had earlier in the winter and last couple weeks, and earlier in the spring as well. So overall, the pattern is set up for continued subsidence along the west coast. I'm not really too sure as of why BC is being hit with such a drought in terms of the meteorology. There has been subsidence out there. They just really haven't had much precipitable water, I guess atmospheric rivers coming in into spring, which is the normal time that it would be coming in. But I guess they just didn't have that, their average precipitation. We can take a look at precipitation totals. Here's a look at your 180-day percent of average precipitation totals for the Pacific coast here, and this doesn't really show anything crazy or highlight anything new that the drought monitor wouldn't. Obviously, the two are going to be directly correlated, but uh, overall, obviously, you haven't had a lot of precipitation in springtime, which is where your spring transition and your winter transition on the Pacific Northwest are the most active in terms of rainfall. But this year, they were in the positive phase of the Pacific North Oscillation. We could see, looking at the past Pacific North American Oscillation index here for most of uh, the beginning of the year up until end of April. We were in the negative phase of the PNA, and looking at the idealized pattern here, that would favor northwest flow at the 500 millibar level, lower than average heights for the west coast and western states. So on the backside of your flow here, you would have convergence and sinking subsidence along the southern coast here. So really not a favorable pattern for precipitation out there, and yeah, you just did not have your active southwesterly jet stream trains moving in from the Pacific or Central Pacific like you normally do in early spring. Taking a look at weather for tomorrow, Environment Canada highlights a risk of severe thunderstorms, slight risk for central Alberta, including Edmonton, westwards to, I believe, Drayton Valley. Sorry, I'm not in Alberta, and I don't know. I have Google Maps, Highway 16 westward. I don't know what this dot is here, but it generally in a solid radius of about give or take 180 kilometers around the Edmonton area, extending a little bit further northwestward there. And the risk for severe thunderstorms in southern Saskatchewan, posing a risk for small to medium-sized hail. And Environment Canada does highlight tornado potential for central Alberta there near the Edmonton area. So we'll take a look at that. Sorry, let me pull up the Euro here. Won't do a super in-depth analysis of this setup. We can see here tomorrow, just broad, strong flow over the Rockies going into the morning. Then it kind of weakens here. This is likely from upstream convection. Maybe go a little higher up here, and you can see that jet a little bit better. All the way up at 200 millibars, 300 millibars, we do have ridging. You do have this kind of jet streak feature here. So on the large scale, you would maybe get subsidence further east. Let's take a look at our thermal advection. See here, Tuesday, 6 o'clock, and high pressure here. This is dynamically forced from the northwest winds aloft, convergence aloft, confluence out here. Lee cyclone that generates out here in the foothills, kind of centered further west in western Alberta here, maybe south of Highway 16, Highway 11 here. Just general surface cyclogenesis that forms out here. We can take a look at our dew point, and we'll have our Alberta dryline circulation active. As the slopes heat up a lot during the afternoon, you get mixing of that air, mixes eastwards, and then mixes back westwards, and you get moisture pooling big time into the foothills. Actually, this is the Euro AI. Let's take a look at the normal Euro here, and you can see moisture pooling out here further west. Taking a quick look at the HRDPS, Canada's high resolution model. This is actually something, just a really interesting feature to note, this little circulation here that you get at the edge of likely a cold air dammed accelerated frontal feature here. You can see the dry line out here into the early morning hours, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And as you move into tomorrow, you get cyclogenesis building. You can really see this convective model can really pinpoint that dry line there. You can see that moisture kind of building into the slopes there, and yeah, lots of moisture pooling out into the western foothills underneath that upper level jet. So northeasterly winds at the surface, strong jet, although I'm not very confident on your height falls. We can take a look. I believe I have it pulled up here. Here is GEFS height falls. Here's 6 p.m. Tuesday. So overall, you won't have larger scale ascent further east, but again, that high momentum air hitting your mountains, you will get a little bit of divergence in the foothills. So again, your foothills are going to be your main weather maker for tomorrow. In terms of when convective initiation will happen, we can sample that cap a bit with the NAM here. 0Z 29 hours. Here we are. Let's take a look at. Just run surface based. Alright, so here's surface based SYN. Let's look at Cape here. And you can really see it building as that moisture starts to pool as you have that cyclogenesis. Let's take a sounding here. This is a little bit higher in the terrain, but you have nice mixed profiles. Very strong winds here. 6 kilometers, 30 knots, 7 kilometers, 50 knots. Very strong jet. Overall, very supportive environment for supercells. Nice stabilization here. Obviously, evidence of strong lifting in the foothills with the saturated profiles here, and cooled environment. Pretty steep, pretty fat cape here, pretty thick instability. Big difference between your parcel temperature. This is likely your surface-based parcel. We can look at your mixed layer parcel. Let's go to the NAM. Take a look at 0Z, roughly the same area here. Your mixed layer parcel will give you a more accurate depiction here, and you can see pretty good instability. 510 hail growth zone cape with your mixed layer parcels. Drier entrainment shouldn't be too big of a deal, and you can see very nice southeasterly winds. And during magic hour, past about, it happens a bit later than 6 o'clock in the high plains in the U.S. Magic hour is typically around 6, but your sun doesn't start to set and your boundary layer doesn't cool until about 9 o'clock, and you can see those your 850 millibar winds after about 8 till 10 o'clock start to crank there in the foothills as you have that temperature difference there. And as your boundary layer stabilizes and you have less turbulent mixing, so your hortographs will enlarge. Take a look at storm relative helicity. If storms can persist into the kind of nighttime hours, 9-10 o'clock in the foothills here, you definitely have tornado potential into the nighttime. And with these nice kind of deep saturated boundary layers from vertical motion acting uh, over the foothills through most of the day underneath that jet, uh, I don't think that your boundary layer will cool too much. So there's a chance you could still have convection occurring later into the night, which is where your tornado potential will likely be maximized. In terms of when convective initiation will occur, I guess we can take a quick peek at HRDPS. Let's look at 18Z precipitation. Let's see what it throws out here. You can see supercell popping up right up against your mountains here. So where would this be? Hinton, Nordegg, Alberta, I believe. It's Highway 11. Not 100% sure on that. Yeah. You fire off a nice supercell and it moves into these very nice dew points out here into the slight risk mentioned by Environment Canada. They move into this area at about 8 o'clock. Wouldn't be surprised to see further development later. Yeah, but overall, a pretty nice supercellular environment. Southeasterly winds at the boundary layer. Storm mode should be pretty good. Again, I don't think you'll be throwing out big outflow boundaries, but again, in the foothills, you can get these kind of RFDs and cold air outflow that kind of bunch up against the mountains here, and you have all this high pressure air that pushes up against the mountains, and then it can rapidly accelerate to the east and southeast. And if your supercells ride that, they tend to become big hailers. They usually increase in hail frequency and or hail size, but they can have non-zero tornado potential as they ride that boundary, and it has enhanced convergence along those boundaries. But the overall background environment is pretty decent later into the evening, so should definitely keep an eye out on the weather if you're in the Edmonton area tomorrow. I guess just looking, we can take a look at the broader synoptics here to see if there's any other maybe issues with this setup. Besides, the only one I can think of right now is you're not really going to get too much height falls for the east, which is a good thing in terms of storm mode. I don't think you'll really see development out here further east, so your foothill storms should be unimpeded as they move into that nice low level moisture that's sitting over the Edmonton area. Height rises here. Take a look at your 700 temperatures. Go back to the Euro here. Take a look at these. Maybe a bit of advection here, but they're not overly warm. Again, I'm confident you're strongly lifting and your moisture pooling in the foothills will get storms going. So relative humidities aloft aren't crazy. I don't think you'll have insane cirrus streamers. Maybe further west where cyclogenesis is occurring, you'll have your cirrus streamers moving northeastward there. Yeah, but overall, a pretty solid environment for discrete supercells that could possibly, have tornado potential with them, and a pretty big hail with a decent cape in that hail growth zone, and of course any updrafts that can sustain themselves and will likely sustain themselves into the evening, just due to the fact that you're going to have pretty strong mesocyclones. Taking a look at your LCLs, your storms will probably be decently small unless you get some sort of crazy clustering. Take a look at the NAM again to kind of get a sounding. Out here. Here's 0Z. LCLs, mixed layer, 1.1 kilometers, 900 meters. Yeah, so they're decent. Um, Storm relative wind that the storm will be feeling at the surface isn't insane. So you could get decent sized supercells. It's a little bit iffy to predict. I believe I saw some work by, or at least Cameron Nixon mentioned that there's some theory that if your LCLs are high, it kind of makes logical sense that as your air pressure rises, essentially the longer that it rises, the more it will expand. So a higher LCL before you saturate your air parcel means you're probably going to have a larger storm base just because it has been given time to rise a lot more. But decent LCLs, I mean, definitely within the capabilities to have tornado potential. Um, but you'll need some favorable interactions and maybe some interesting foothills RFD acceleration action to get tornadoes because storm relative helicities aren't high, so you're gonna have strong mesocyclones, but the amount of streamwise vorticity they're gonna be ingesting isn't crazy. So yeah, overall, it's just a nice supercell environment. You'll probably be seeing some really cool structure shots out there, which is always awesome to see. Unfortunately, some large hail probably, which isn't great to see. But people in the foothills know how to prepare for hail, hopefully. So yeah, overall, foothills is looking pretty decent for severe chances tomorrow. And Environment Canada does highlight this slight risk in southern Saskatchewan here. Pretty much the entire southern portion below Swift Current here. I guess Weyburn, Assiniboia, Estevan, not Swift Current, and other communities further southwest here. Maybe Shaunavon, Clintworth. Uh, yeah, just lots of the communities in southwestern Saskatchewan. So I'm looking at a map here. I guess Grasslands National Park would be covered in this risk as well. Maybe East End Saskatchewan, the southern portions of the Cypress Hills. You can take a look at that. I believe I looked at it before, and you have the jet streak, uh, or at least some sort of shortwave. Again, that might be associated with convection prior. Where would it be at about this time? Because we're on the NAM here. Here's around 4 o'clock tomorrow. It's like a precipitation. I have a feeling this is associated with some sort of, maybe not. It's an interesting feature. I wonder if this is convective out here. Huh. Interesting. Maybe take a look at what it looks like in your upper levels. Maybe might just be associated with Bear Clinic region here. Lee cyclone out here, some sort of frontal wave in Montana here. Cold front moving east, some sort of like warm frontal zone. Not the most favorable environment for thunderstorm development in southern Saskatchewan. Mainly isotropically supported. Let's take a look at your low level jet. It's definitely kicking out there. You have some sort of boundary in western Montana, southern Alberta. Elevated rain and convection associated with that short wave there. See if we can kind of pinpoint the Bear Clinic zone, and you can see it, a 700 millibar, more kind of low pressure here, and you can kind of see your cold front. My drawing is still messed up here. That's unfortunate. I have to go to here. Cold front feature and just general warm air advection into southern Saskatchewan. Again, those 700 millibar temperatures aren't what you really want to see. I have a feeling the NAM is going to be throwing out capped soundings here. Take a look. Let's take a look at your moisture. Yeah, pretty low moisture quality here in the morning. It's pretty high, and then really starts to mix out. Probably have some pretty wonky looking profiles here. Yeah, there's evidence of thermal advection and even subsidence on some degree acting on your environment down there. Maybe some mid-level convection moving south to north underneath this larger scale warm air advection regime. Take a look at most unstable Cape here. And honestly, the NAM is not liking. It's not really showing any bit of instability down in southern Saskatchewan before tomorrow. And maybe elevated. It's a bit interesting. I don't know if what models are showing that. Maybe we can look at ensemble here. Maybe the href would be better. Mean mix layer. Let's go mean mix layer Cape. And I mean, yeah, maybe in the southwestern regions, maybe we can look at how things have trended. I believe this would be their afternoon outlook. Their 2 p.m. Afternoon outlook. And yeah, I mean, Ensemble href is only going for 200 joules per kilogram of mixed layer Cape. Most unstable. Not very high either. May have earlier. Let's take a look here. I don't know. Very interesting. It almost seems like this mixing out is due to some convection, which is interesting, huh? Very interesting here. We can find lightning probability. Yeah, I mean this region would make sense. The southwestern Saskatchewan, again, you have that jet streak moving through the flow there. Yeah. Not really sure what Environment Canada is seeing for the southeast. I really don't see too much instability out there. I would say mainly southwestern Saskatchewan are probably your highest probabilities to see thunderstorms there tomorrow. Take a look at a NAM sounding. And I have a feeling they're going to be pretty mixed out here. Take a look. This is 0Z. Very wonky sounding here. You have advection at multiple different levels in the atmosphere. It gets pretty weird in this Bear Clinic region out here. Honestly, Montana's looking pretty nice. Yeah, that's a pretty big hailer sounding right there. That any supercells that fire in Montana would have massive hail. So maybe they're going for the threat of storms moving from Montana into southern Saskatchewan. But again, you have warm air advection at 700 millibars to kind of keep capping persistent throughout the day. So I think as storms move northward, they would likely start to die. So overall, tomorrow, maybe just kind of take another broader synoptic look. You have this high that develops, cold air advection southeast, maybe cold air advection cumulus developing. maybe not, because again you have this ridging out here. Uh, so for most of central Saskatchewan, I'd say besides northern regions, you should probably have lack of cloud cover. Yeah, mixing further north. Um, yeah, but then high altostratus, cirrostratus, cirrus moving in the southern regions. But yeah, see the Euro has mainly a precipitation confined, some maybe elevated development near the border there. So take another sounding here. And yeah, I mean, very conditional for southeastern Saskatchewan. Still pretty conditional for southwestern, but again, you have that forcing. Uh, that would be earlier on in the day. So yeah, overall would be kind of random where you get storms in southern Saskatchewan. But I mean, the wind's sure strong, so anything can kind of happen. No tornado threat, but maybe small hail, as Environment Canada outlines there. So maybe went a little bit longer on the severe threat for tomorrow, but we'll move on to the rest of the week and kind of see what we're expecting in terms of heat and precipitation and overall kind of weather pattern. And possibly severe weather to come up for this weekend. So we'll move on to that. Moving on to the forecast models for the rest of the week. This is the 18Z Euro. Start of the period is Monday at 12 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And we'll just move forward here and see what's going on. Currently, high pressure building in eastern Alberta into central Saskatchewan here. Again, you have that northwest flow aloft here. Confluence, upper level ridging out here, and just overall just sinking motion and subsidence in the upper atmosphere to support this. I won't call it a baroclinic high, but definitely cooler temperatures north and warmer temperatures south, so maybe a pseudo baroclinic high. And this just keeps on moving southeast. So you have cold air advection southeast. Keeps on going here, and you have this baroclinic system that starts to eject. You can see the effects of some sort of shortwave moving through along this baroclinic zone here. You get frontogenesis in Montana here, baroclinic leaf, warm front, isentropic ascent further east, and your lee cyclone really starts to build in southern Montana there, and just kind of builds, moves southeast, and along with that throws up some rain and possibly elevated convection into the early afternoon hours on early morning and afternoon hours into southwestern Manitoba for Wednesday. Maybe some of that extending into southern Saskatchewan. Warmer advection into central Alberta again come Wednesday. Rid of this. Let's see, more thunderstorm activity here. Your thickness gradient isn't as high here, so not sure if you have as strong of a jet out there. Again, that high pressure there keeps moving southeast. Maybe intensifies over the Manitoba Escarpment in the early morning. Some radiative cooling. Again, just overall just broad anticyclonic flow with return flow, southeast flow into the western prairies, into the foothills into southwestern Saskatchewan, and cyclonic anticyclonic flow for just much of the prairies. Easterly winds above here again, this gradient here, uh, isobaric gradient here, pressure gradient, will continue for northern Saskatchewan there, where it will hopefully start to slow down, but again, you'll keep pulling in that dry air from the north, and probably will still have fire maintenance out there, and some of that smoke will start being convected southeastward, possibly into southern Manitoba, and just overall cold air convection. Strong upper level jet moving southeast here across northeast Manitoba, and you have a frontal wave out here, some sort of cold front or position, something like that, further north. Moving into Wednesday here, and just overall troughing in the foothills. And it's kind of a slow pattern here as this high starts to move slowly to the southeast. Looking further north to the Northwest Territories here. I got least cyclogenesis up here, and overall just troughing in the foothills that starts to develop, and southerly flow starts to pick up again. Possibly you're going to be pooling moisture closer into the foothills here later into the week. But overall, likely just thunderstorm development out in the foothills underneath this still southwesterly flow. And as you get you're troughing in the foothills, that will be continued during the afternoon hours, and your Alberta dryland circulation. Some more energy moving northward, northern Saskatchewan here. Lots of convection up here. You can see developing maybe along some sort of frontal feature. I draw that in here for Thursday. Some sort of frontal feature, possibly like this. See that moves northeastward. Maybe see here 564 thickness. As here's some cooler temperatures aloft here, so I guess you have a convective air mass associated with probably some sort of short wave here moving through the flow. And we enter Friday. Some sort of cold front, and that might be left over in northern Saskatchewan. And overall just kind of a frontal wave moving through the western prairies here. Something like this. Maybe some sort of warm front setting up out in southwestern Manitoba, and could see thunderstorm development further down there. See, the year goes for some sort of development down there. As we continue later on into the week, and this wave, frontal wave, encounters this jet stream here, and probably reinforce some sort of warm front in northeastern Manitoba. And high pressure still for much of the southern prairies here. You can see further north, and just broadly return flow again, some sort of leftover boundary through north central Saskatchewan that feeds in to the specific system that ejects into the foothills by the Euro shows by Friday afternoon. Still a lot of uncertainty in the model, in the GFS and other regional and ensemble models, or global models, but the Euro shows a very favorable look for severe weather to hit central Alberta, and possibly a severe supercell outbreak could develop if what the Euro is showing as of now will unfold. But again, that's over 100 hours out, so we'll have to wait for more agreement about among the models before you can really conclude anything for the severe threat on Saturday. But just overall, Pacific system starts to move northwest, and you still have that Four Corners Ridge dominating across the southwestern states. The anticyclonic flow aloft there. Ridge would be something like that, and your cold core upper level low moving northeastward, and could definitely bring enhanced thunderstorm development with it. And we just keep moving on into Friday here. And with that, could bring general rain and thunderstorm activity in central and southern Alberta, and a cold front here, and this energy will likely just keep moving eastward as you get low pressure development further east along some sort of occlusion here. Go drawing your roughly position of the boundaries here, something like that. Be a rough picture there. So overall, possibly a very impressive system again to move into the prairies here. You can see the big contrast in thickness here. 564 decameters, and all the way up 580. So you have a strong southwest jet stream that would develop out there. But overall, the ridging will build back in, and the heath will build back in into central and southern Saskatchewan, especially as that surface ridge starts to move east, and we have a southerly flow moving into the central province there, and you'll start to advect that mid-level capping in, and we'll probably see some sort of suppression of thunderstorm activity in southern Saskatchewan here. And overall, you'll just start to build the heat, and possibly build the heat big time up in northeastern Saskatchewan, which is not what you want if those fires continue to persist and become uncontrolled. It's high pressure forecasted to move southeastward still. Actually, I would call this a baroclinic high here. It just keeps on going here. It's bringing cold air southeastwards, which would reinforce troughing on the backside here. Warmer advection on its western flank here. Would favor ridging, which would continue ascent downstream or descent downstream. So this very impressive high pressure has just kind of been reinforcing itself over the forecast run here for the Euro, and this Euro run goes at 144 hours. So obviously will become less accurate with its depiction of the motion of the air masses, but overall, lots of unsettled weather to come in from the Pacific Northwest into Alberta, central Alberta, and possibly into western Saskatchewan over the weekend into Saturday, and moving possibly into Sunday as the frontal system really starts to develop, and unfortunately bringing more rain to possibly Manitoba. Hopefully the system stays north and doesn't dump more rain in southwest Manitoba. yeah, but overall, more heat to come for the northern portions of Saskatchewan and Manitoba. You can take a look at a map here. Taking a look at temperature anomaly from the European, you can see as we animate it here later into the week, yeah, that heat does start to build quite a bit up in northern Saskatchewan there. Unfortunately, it'll probably be pretty windy with southwesterly winds Thursday afternoon with that frontal wave. You can see here, which is not ideal. It's not what you want to see, because again, you're going to be able to support wildfires that will likely be persisting into Thursday. I don't really see why they wouldn't be. We can go back to temperature anomaly, and the heat will just start to build big time out there. Taking a look at the 500 millibar chart. Let's go back to the beginning of the period. And that strong, just broad westerly flow kind of breaks down into a ridge here, and you have your short waves and convection that develops in your higher terrain down here. Kind of just starts to, it just moves further downstream here. And taking a look at tomorrow afternoon for Tuesday, that energy will overspread southwestern Saskatchewan. So I'm confident that you'll likely be seeing thunderstorm development. If it were to occur in Saskatchewan, it would most likely be something like this, and then convection that moves out the high terrain would possibly be pretty strong. You'd likely get supercells developing off Montana and clustering as they move northeast into possibly somewhere in southern Saskatchewan there. And he's moving the 500 millibar chart forward, and this energy is moving in here. And possible just multiple rounds of short waves from pre-existing convection that is fired off of the high terrain, and as the specific system starts to move into the Pacific Northwest. And a big factor on how this evolves is there's still a lot of disagreement between runs of the Euro, just because we are in July, and convection has a big effect on how your weather systems will evolve and kind of steer themselves, because the convection downstream will kind of destroy the vorticity aloft and favor, if you get intense downstream convection, you'll favor height rises downstream here, which would favor anticyclonic flow, which would change your steering and probably force your wave further north there, which could lead to a favorable ejection, could lead to further north, further south. It's hard to say for sure, again, how this system will eject. But overall, very strong jet forecasted by the 18Z Euro, overspreading Alberta here, the foothills. And I don't see a reason why you wouldn't have moisture, just given the ridging, the high pressure in southeastern Saskatchewan and southern Manitoba, the return flow. And we have the fertile belt kind of along Highway 16 here all the way up to Edmonton. Of course, Edmonton had record-setting rainfall out there. You have the very high rainfall and record-setting rainfall in Manitoba. So that return flow will really pump all that moisture northwestward into Alberta, I'm sure. And taking a look, yeah, big time, even into Montana there, as that baroclinic system kind of sucks down that moisture, and it sits down there, and just really starts to build as that system moves slowly to the east. And if this were to happen on Friday, it would be a very substantial outbreak of severe thunderstorms. But again, this is just one model, and even among its own runs, you still have quite the disagreement. But I mean, these last three runs are they're pretty impressive, to say the least. Yeah, going back to 500 millibars again. Kind of positively tilted. It's kind of connected up to this cutoff low down in. You have a Rex block down here of this low pressure here. It's cut off, and this guy, this high pressure, just kind of spinning out there on the northwest side, and this is actually pretty much identical to the pattern of the negative phase of the PMA, where you have maybe it's a little bit westward, but you have the 500 millibar height rises up here, and then your low heights further over the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, very, very interesting pattern here. This high will kind of cut off systems from moving eastward into the prairies, and if it were to actually develop like this, taking a look at maybe the GEFS to kind of get a more average view of things. Where is it here? 500 millibars. And yeah, it seems like that sort of picture might develop, where you have this very developed, very large 500 millibar low, and this ridge out here, you have a Rex block pattern. This low out here won't really be able to propagate anywhere. Won't be able to propagate really eastward from this ridge. Lack of baroclinicity. You're just building heat out here from continued subsidence. And yeah, overall, if the pattern becomes like this, fires are going to really start to fire up in southern BC, and possibly into the Northwest Territories, as again we have that drought out there, as well to Yukon and possibly northern BC as well. But I'm hoping the pattern doesn't slow down. Personally, I would like to see some more severe weather, but I know that the prairies have been hit quite hard, and I know people would like to see a break from that. And we definitely don't want to enter into any extreme heat patterns, because wildfires are too much wildfires over the same regions over multiple years is not a good thing. Hopefully this pattern doesn't develop, but unfortunately, if the ensembles are showing it, only 140 hours out, which on this scale, on this synoptic and global scale, is unfortunately very likely to happen. You can see that just massive ridging extending further north, which will likely just completely spark up fires out here, which is unfortunate. Yeah. But overall, the rest of the week, pretty calm skies from most of eastern Saskatchewan. Stormy skies to hit western Alberta and northern Saskatchewan. But overall, be pretty hot in northern Saskatchewan. Say average temperatures, maybe a little above average. Drier-ish heat. Again, the moisture will be building back up later into the week. But overall, a relatively quiet pattern for the next couple of days. But yeah, take a look at thunderstorm energy here, and you can see it really it really focuses on the foothills. So eastern prairies will have a break from thunderstorms, but definitely the same cannot be said for the foothills, as that moisture in the Edmonton area will just keep pooling out there, and then you can see our fertile belt in central Saskatchewan will start lighting up again. So yeah, will be an interesting couple of days for sure across the prairies. Unfortunately, wildfires will start spreading and popping up more in their frequency, and that north flow from the high pressure could be bringing them south, eastward into central and southern Manitoba. But yeah, I think that'll wrap it up for this weekly discussion over the prairies. Uh, Still not as organized as I would hoped. Um, I would like to go maybe more in depth on some of the more synoptic scale features, and maybe explain, maybe just kind of focus better day by day rather than kind of jumping through days. But yeah, I'll improve the format with time, and hopefully you can smooth it out here and make the videos more concise and shorter, as this one will likely be over an hour. Definitely be over an hour as I finish recording here. Anyways, thanks for tuning in on this first of many weekly weather analyses. I'm really excited once wintertime comes, because wintertime forecasting is definitely one of my favorites. And yeah, I'll definitely be making more videos if I can on the severe threats that develop in the western prairies later this week. Anyways, that will be all. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.